Ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege to present Egypt's third voluntary national review during the high-level political forum, reaffirming our full commitment to evaluate progress towards the implementation of the 2030 Agenda. Egypt has a story to tell through its third VNR. Why are we preparing this report? What happened in the past 3 years between submitting our second and third VNRs, the process of preparing this report, the key opportunities, challenges, and the way forward towards the decade of action. Egypt's third VNR comes within the framework of its comprehensive sustainable development strategy, Egypt's Vision 2030, which has been launched in 2016 through a participatory approach, with the economic, environmental, and social dimensions being at its core. Moreover, Egypt has embarked upon an update to this vision, given the need to address critical challenges such as water scarcity, rapid population growth, geopolitical development, as well as accommodating the COVID-19 implication on SDGs. Through guiding principles and enablers, such update involves extensive consultations with all stakeholders and an alignment with regional and global agendas, Africa's Agenda 2063 and Sustainable Development Goals. Ladies and gentlemen, Egypt lays significant emphasis on the localization of the SDGs at the governorate level in order to address geographic disparities, especially through 1. Evidence-based interventions by producing for the first time in Egypt and the region 27 reports on the implementation of SDGs for each Egyptian governorate, identifying their distinctive needs and developmental gaps. 2. Creating a governorate level competitiveness index. 3. Developing a fair and objective governorate level investment allocation formula. And 4. On-ground interventions through the Decent Life Presidential Multi-Stakeholder Initiative, with a particular focus on the poorest, most vulnerable, and those furthest behind. Furthermore, I'd like to stress that the VNR is a country report and not a government one. This was the guiding principle during the process of preparing this report, which rested on the whole of society approach, emphasizing the active engagement of relevant stakeholders. Hence, the government of Egypt held a series of virtual workshops with government entities, private sector, civil society, and development partners, ensuring data richness and a variety of perspectives. Ladies and gentlemen, Egypt's third VNR covers all 17 SDGs, outlining not only achievements and success factors, but also challenges and gaps. And let me walk you through some of the highlights of this report. First, and with respect to SDG 1, no poverty, Egypt recently witnessed for the first time in almost 2 decades a decrease in its poverty rates, falling to 29.7% in 2019-2020, compared to 32.5% in 2018, which reflects the success of the economic reform program and the accompanying well-targeted social protection policies. Government efforts in this regard include scaling up public investment in human capital and ensuring the provision of basic services, expanding and reinforcing social safety networks, illustrated by the Takaful and Karama conditional and unconditional cash transfer program, and the launch of the Decent Life initiative aimed at raising living standards for almost 57 million Egyptians, more than half of the Egyptian population. Regarding SDG 3, good health, Egypt is committed to ensuring the well-being for all its citizens and enhancing the resilience of its healthcare sector. Government's efforts include a 100 million health initiative that was launched in 2018 to halt the hepatitis C epidemic and detect non-communicable diseases given their immense health, social, and economic burden. The initiative's success was illustrated by a 98% decrease in newly reported hepatitis C cases annually. In this respect, the civil society has always played a pivotal role in underpinning the improvement of health and well-being in Egypt through many preventive and treatment initiatives that spanned before and throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. Ladies and gentlemen, As for SDG 8, work and growth, after hitting an all-time low of 1.8% in 2011, GDP growth accelerated in 2018-2019, peaking at 5.6%. Furthermore, unemployment declined and stood at single digits, even during the pandemic, recording 7.2% in the fourth quarter of 2020, despite rising to 9.6% in the early stages of the COVID-19 crisis. The government in this regard has recognized financial inclusion as a priority, mainly by supporting medium, small, and micro enterprises with accessible financing and capacity building initiatives. Moreover, the government of Egypt has capitalized on effective partnership with the private sector, most notably through the recently created Sovereign Fund of Egypt, intended to boost productivity, tap into global value chains, and provide knowledge-sharing opportunities. In considerations of SDG 13, climate action, Egypt has made further progress in mitigating the impacts of climate change by reinforcing our policy and institutional frameworks over the past few years. This is evidenced by the launch of the environmental sustainability criteria to ensure greening of the public investment plan with a target of reaching 50% of projects by the year 2024-25. Additionally, government strides include 1. Launching the first Egyptian green bonds of a value of $750 million, preparing the national climate strategy to be launched in late 2021, as well as the national hydrogen strategy. Additionally, several initiatives spanning multiple directions are led by civil society and private sector in order to promote social responsibility and active citizenship towards the environment. Referring to SDG 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions, in 2019, Egypt achieved higher ranks in several governance indicators. This was consequent to government's efforts, which included submission of African Peer Review Mechanism report, the establishment of the National Institute for Governance and Sustainable Development, and the National Anti-Corruption Academy, aiming at capacity building in the fields of governance and sustainability. As we continue to share lessons and best practices, it is necessary to shed light on the challenges impeding the implementation of the SDGs to ensure objective self-assessment. Firstly, the digital divide between males and females, which would be addressed in the framework of prioritizing the ICT sector by the government as part and core of the second phase of the structural reforms. Secondly, increasing women's participation in the labor force, which represents a major challenge weighing on many SDGs. Hence, we are comprehending the economic, social, and cultural determinants underlying women's decisions in this matter. Thirdly, circumventing environmental challenges through a green-driven recovery currently underway. Egypt, however, is firmly committed and will continue making strides in implementing all SDGs. Fundamentally, there are two important catalysts that could accelerate the momentum. The first is through increased digitization, as it entails further integration and general optimization, while the second is expanding partnerships. At this juncture, I would like to reiterate that no government can go distance alone. This is a joint commitment that can only be achieved by all stakeholders coming together. The collective efforts of common people is the shortcut to uncommon results. Secondly, we should continuously remind ourselves that it is the incremental progress achieving SDGs that build the much needed momentum towards a more prosperous future for our people. Daily ripples of excellence over time become a tsunami of success. Thank you for your time and attention, and our report will be available online for further details, and looking forward to our discussions.